Here we go. Happy Thursday, everybody, and welcome into Chicago Bears Now. My name is Harrison Graham. Hope everybody is having a great week, getting ready for another weekend, 1 week closer to the NFL Draft. 3 weeks from today, we will be live for round one coverage. Producer Cullen, we are almost there, 21 days from now. Shout out your city. We'll get some shout-outs rolling. You just did that. The hairs are starting to stand up on the arms a little bit. That the free agency kind of was short and sweet this year, but now we're into draft month, baby. Let's go.
I'm pumped, man. Yeah, I mean, this is one of those times a year as an NFL fan that, I'd say the highlight of the offseason. It really is. So the fact that we're this close away, again, we'll be live for all 3 days. I believe single pick we'll be live for. So We'll be breaking it all down here on Bears Now. So make sure, again, mark your calendars, set yourself a reminder, do what you got to do, because we are going to be bringing the boom and bringing all the content that you guys need here for draft weekend. I can't wait, man.
We're always bringing the boom here on Bears Now. We were bringing the boom before the Boom Boys were bringing the boom, but those guys do bring the boom. I have no problem admitting that. Bear down from H-Town in Houston. We got Mike Nintendo in Wake Forest. Raleigh, Durham, I guess he's in a couple of places. Gunther and Keller. We got Scott in Colorado Springs, Santana in Jordan, Minnesota. Fort Wayne, Indiana is where Justin is watching. We've got Blake in Mount Vernon, Corey in Las Vegas, and who else we got? Let's see. Richard in Yorkville, Illinois. Scott in Colorado Springs. Ryan in Maricopa. The Colville, Illinois is where Daniel's watching. DJ Moore in Chicago. Jared in Keller, Texas. What's up, Jared? Mike saying bear down. Bryce in Syracuse, New York. Blackpool, UK. One of our producers is in the UK right now. Producer Coop watching Chelsea. 1-0, right? Last time we checked, 1-0.
Last time we checked, yeah, big rivalry game. They're up 1-0 on Tottenham. Honestly, hey, if you guys do watch Premier League, which you may or may not, who's your team? Drop them down below.
Yeah, favorite EPL team in the chat.
Let them know.
I base mine on who I used to play with in FIFA, which was Man City. That was before they got really good, but I don't really watch much EPL anymore. But if you got a squad, drop them in the chat. English Premier League, Mike Nintendo, or if you have a team in the German league, like Bayern Munich.
Yeah, or in the Spanish league, La Liga.
Yeah, La Liga as well.
A bunch of different ones. We got Arsenal, we got Tottenham Hotspur, we got Manchester United. DC says, I hate soccer. Fair enough. That is respectable.
What's the team name on Ted Lasso? They're I forget what they're called.
No, yeah. I'm totally blanking.
This is embarrassing.
Oh my God. AFC Richmond.
AFC Richmond, yes.
There we go.
Jeez. AFC Richmond. Maybe that's your squad. All right, we're going to get into this here in a little bit, but Ryan Poles, the Bears GM, hopped on with Hoge Jahns, and something they dove into is the possibility of adding a veteran quarterback. Poles said he and Ben Johnson have discussed that, and it's something they could do in the near future, which I found pretty interesting. I doubt it would happen before the draft, but who's a vet quarterback you guys would like the Bears to bring in? Poles, and again, we'll get into it deeper, but he said it's got to be the right fit. It's got to be someone who would embrace just kind of the vet in the room role, not someone who's looking to start or anything like that. And frankly, the way he talked, Colin, kind of more of like a QB3 role. Like they like Bajent as the backup, but they do recognize the value of adding someone who's been there and done that to that room. This is a big topic last offseason on Bears Now. It's like, should they try to get a Ryan Tannehill or someone like that in this QB room? Not because Bajent wasn't a capable playing backup, but he's still a young guy too. So it'll be interesting to see if they add somebody. Someone says Dan Marino. Dan Marino would combust if he took one tackle. So I don't think that's happening. Ryan Tannehill in the chat. It's an interesting one.
I still think he could throw. I'd imagine he could still throw a beautiful spot.
Oh, he can spin it.
Oh, yeah.
He
Mike
can spin
Glennon.
it. Mike Glennon. Tannehill or Keenan? You mean Keenum, I assume, unless you're talking about Keenan Allen. Sid Luckman. He would be, how old would he be? He'd be like, he'd be over 100, I think. Flacco, Aaron Rodgers. Okay, Courtney Cronin. Love Courtney Cronin. She does great, but that was never going to happen. Let's see. Yeah, that's why I said he would be DC. Keenum might Nintendo. Yeah, Case Keenum's the guy we'll talk about. Joe Flacco. Winston signed with the Giants. He's not an option. I don't think he'd fit that bill either because, like, Winston's more of a backup than a starter, but he does kind of fit that fringe starter kind of category, and I don't think that's what the Bears are looking for.
Right.
I think they're looking for a guy who's been in the league for a while, but his playing days are kind of over. Like, he's just there to almost be an extension of the coaching staff, but can be in that room on a day-to-day basis. So I think that's something. Someone says Mitch Trashbisky. Well, he's with the Bills, so that's not going to happen. Flacco, I think he fits that mold. I think we saw last year the kind of magical Cleveland Flacco. I think that's over with. But I think it's like a QB3, played a lot of ball, won a Super Bowl. I think if he would embrace that role, I think he'd be a perfect fit for that. Carson Wentz, I'm not sure that's what you're looking for. Not that he's a fringe starter, but, like, does he want to be that QB3? Like, is he going to sign and be like, yeah, you're not even QB2? Like, I think he could be a backup somewhere. I don't think that's what. I would love Tyrod Taylor, but he's with the Jets. Tyler Huntley, maybe. He's young-ish. I don't think that's who I would look at. We'll get to some guys. Here in a little bit that I think will pique your interest. But a couple super chats to roll through, and if you want to get your question answered on the show, you can use #Bears or super chat. We do have a mailbag coming up. Dennis says, would you rather lose a second if it meant Jeanty and a trade-up? Well, I swear Dennis has access to our mock drafts that we do somehow, because I may or may not be doing that in today's mock. Or gain a second in a trade down but it meant Hampton. It's a really good question. I do like Jeanty more than Hampton. Not by a wide margin, but by a notable margin. This is a tough. I've kind of gone back and forth on this, Cullen. Do you think Hampton is closer to Jeanty or to, like, the next crop?
That's an interesting way of looking at it.
I kind of think he's in his own tier where it's like Jeanty's tier 1, Hampton's tier 2, and then it's Judkins, for me, Johnson. I know you'd probably put him in a tier after that, but and then I'd probably throw Travion Henderson in that third tier, just not for the Bears because of DeAndre Swift. I don't know. I think that's what you would have to ask yourself is, like, is the gap between Jeanty and Hampton larger or the gap between Hampton and that next crop larger? If the gap between Hampton and the next crop is smaller, then you'd probably go with option 2 here.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, it's a clear top 3. You know, Jeanty's 1, Marion Hampton's 2, Judkins is 3, and then there's that next kind of group of running backs. So it's kind of tough. I'd probably slightly lean Jeanty, the gap from Jeanty to Hampton versus Hampton to Judkins for me.
In terms of that first gap being a little larger?
Yes.
Okay, I'd probably agree.
And it's, again, like, all 3 of those, if you're the Bears, if you were to land one of those 3 running backs, I think you're really happy because they all do, I mean, they're not the same running back, but they all do kind of similar things. They can provide a little bit of a force, but they're really good running backs. Can take the pressure off of Swift, who's more of a finesse back. And I just, like, the thing is, though, if you gain a second and also get a Marion Hampton.
That's appealing, especially if it's a second.
Yes.
Like, if you just said day 2 pick or whatever. I think here's the challenge, though, because, like, in a vacuum here, I'd probably lean the second one, although I'd still think about it. But if you're the Bears themselves, if you're trading up for Jeanty, you know you're getting him, right? Because, like, if you're doing that on draft night and you make a trade, you're then selecting him. If you trade down, you don't necessarily know that you're getting Hampton, right? Like, you could trade down, get a second, be like, oh, yeah, we'll take Hampton. Well, what if Dallas takes him at 12? Like, there's no guarantee. Or what if the team trading up to you takes him? So that, in terms of, like, actually operating these transactions, that would be the risk. Whereas if you're trading up for Jeanty, anytime you trade up, you know exactly who you're taking. If you trade down, you don't know who you're going to get unless you're moving down one spot like the Bears did for Darnell Wright because they knew the Eagles were coming up for Jalen Carter. And they were like, okay, we'll move back a spot to take the player we were going to take here anyway and get a future fourth out of it. If you move back more than a couple spots, there's no guarantee that the player you'd like to get in that trade down is still there. So, it's a balance you have to play. And again, it kind of goes back to do you want a blue chip player or do you want an extra dart to throw for a good player, but maybe not someone who could be great with that extra second or third round pick? So it's tough needle to thread. I think you're balancing a lot of things. Yeah. How much do you believe in the current roster? Do you feel like you need more depth overall? Do you feel like you need a high end player more than you need two good players? So it's always a tough balancing act for these GMs. But I think it's a good hypothetical, Dennis, because if you told me 100% you'd get Hampton and an extra second, I'd probably lean that way. But I also am not completely against the thought of moving up for Jeanty if you think he's special. And I think he's like the fourth or fifth best player in the draft. So it's kind of one of those things. That's why, if you got him at 10, people who are on the Jeanty train, okay, fine, positional value. But if you get the fifth best player at 10, that's kind of hard to argue with, even if it's at a position that you don't deem as valuable, which clearly I think this current regime is going to value a lot. So
I just trading up for Jeanty. I understand the Raiders could be targeting him, and that's the allure of trading up. There's a reason behind it. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I want to move up from 10 to draft Jeanty.
Yeah, I don't love.
I don't know. At 10, I 100% get it, right? Feel the value and everything. Think that's about where he should go. Again, just trading up to 5, for example, with Jacksonville to potentially go just get Ashton Jeanty. I'd rather trade up if Mason Graham's there. I'd rather trade up, to be honest. I'd maybe even think about Tyler Warren before Jeanty.
So you would trade up for Warren over Jeanty? That's interesting.
I'm kind of torn. It'd be a coin flip to me between Jeanty or Warren, but
it's going to be interesting on draft night because I do think the Bears are right on that border of is one of these blue chippers going to get to 10?
Yeah. And
if they feel like if Shedeur doesn't go at 3, for example, does Ryan Poles start to get a little antsy and consider a move up? So that's going to be fascinating to watch.
And the last thing I'll say on it, the gap between Jeanty and Hampton is smaller than the gap between Warren and Loveland to me.
Okay, that's interesting.
I look at it as yes, they're both great, Warren and Jeanty, 2 skill positions, but if you're asking me, hey, where's the drop-off go to? I think for tight end, especially going to tight end 3 at that point versus Judkins, who I have as RB3, that's more of a significant drop-off versus Jeanty to RB2 or RB3.
Yeah.
So that's just my thought process.
These are all situations the Bears are running as they get ready for draft night. I can promise you that. Adam Downing, my April Fool's joke with the boys was Rodgers to the Houston Roughnecks, 2 years, $100,000. That'd be something. Something. That's pretty funny. Tyler Kendrick, did y'all see MJD's garbage mock? I didn't, but Tom just sent it to me. Tom Downey, actually, literally as we were going live. I didn't have a chance to check it out. I'll pull it up here. So he's got Cam Ward to the Titans, Carter to the Browns, Shedeur to the Giants, Will Campbell to the Patriots, Teterow McMillan to the Jags. So in this scenario, first of all, I guess they could take T-Mac at 5. In this scenario, if that happens and Graham is still available at 6, are you thinking about trying to trade up at that point? Jeanty to the Raiders at 6, by the way, so he gets past 6. Travis Hunter goes 7 to the Jets.
Yeah, that's shot at MJD.
He's so bad, dude.
He
puts out America's worst mock every year. Guess who has taken it 10? Don't look at the chat.
Don't look at the chat?
They might have. Jalen Walker, 8, Armand Mimbu at 9. So think about who's still available.
Is Campbell's on the board?
No, he went to the Patriots.
Okay, gotcha.
But Marion Hampton's still available. Mason Graham is still available at 10. He does not take him. None of the guys I'm mentioning he takes. Tyler Warren is still available. Mike Green, he doesn't take any of these guys.
I'm assuming it's another edge, though, not Mike Green. That's what my guess would be. Shamar Stewart?
You are going to be shocked. Travion Henderson at number 10.
I wouldn't even take him at 41. What the fuck? Okay.
I wouldn't take him.
I would not.
If Swift is on this roster, I'm not drafting him. Because, and I like Travion, but like their skill sets don't mesh.
That
MJD did it again, folks. Mason Graham on the board at 10. Nope. Travion Henderson, come on down.
Running backs got to protect running backs, am I right? Jeez.
Well, then take Hampton at least. I mean, Jesus.
I know. Travion Henderson. Jesus. His vision is honestly...
If he had better vision, he'd probably be in play for RB2, but it's just he doesn't have great vision. He says, this is his paragraph. I know it would be a surprise to a lot of folks if Henderson is picked top 10. Yeah, it would. But he's my number 2 running back in the draft. We saw how much success Detroit had with 2 running backs under Ben Johnson, yada, yada. Now the new Bears head coach adds a versatile and explosive back to pair with DeAndre Swift, giving Chicago a 1-2 punch. Plus, Henderson excels in pass protection. That is true, and that is one thing he does significantly better than DeAndre Swift, making him an option on all 3 downs. Again, if Swift wasn't on this team, I would have Henderson in that Judkins, Caleb Johnson mold because he's explosive, he's a good pass protector and catcher. He just doesn't have great vision. Like, that's the knack against him. Like, all those, like, tier 2 backs, there's something they're not great at, and for his is the vision. I don't want 2 backs with below average vision. I can live with 1 because you're going to hit some home runs with DeAndre Swift, but you're also going to turn carries that should get you 6 yards into 2 yards.
Yes.
Which that drives coaches crazy. JS83.
Do you want to read this one first?
Yeah, it's all, you can put it on screen.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Just so, because I think the chat will have my back here. Harry is a bald loser. I don't know what your deal is. I mean, I'm yanking the hair. It's not moving. I got a haircut recently. His wife left him. I can call her up and confirm that's not the case. But he bought her from Vietnam. She's not Vietnamese, which no problem to anyone who's married to a Vietnamese woman, but she is not. Let's buy him a new toupee. Chat, you guys feel free to respond to this guy. I'll take the high road here, but we'll just keep it moving. I don't know what he has against me. Do you want Keenan Allen back? Yes or no?
Yes,
Do you want Keenan Allen back? You guys are funny.
Appreciate the donation.
Yeah, thanks for the 5. Hey, if you guys want to donate to just make up shit about me, it's fine with me. I know what's true and what's not. A lot of no's on Keenan, although the votes say yes.
I know.
So, are there some closet Keenan supporters here?
Maybe.
B-Dub wants him back.
I think, like, the photo is something that got a lot of Bears fans riled up. Harry, you'll break it down obviously later. I just don't see how it happens, like, realistically.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to get into it, and the reason this is circulated is because Caleb and Keenan were seen at some event, I think out in L.A. It was a St. Brown event. They're both have ties to Amon-Ra, so something just happened.
Trey McBride just became the highest paid tight end in NFL history.
Wow.
4 for 76.
19 a year.
Woo.
I love Trey McBride. That's a bag, though.
It is. Bag. For a guy who caught, like, what, 1 touchdown last year? I think it was like 1 or 2.
Yeah, I don't really put that on him.
No, it's not.
Because didn't he have like 100 catches?
Oh, dude, he was balling.
He's a monster.
He was balling.
He's probably top 3 now. I mean, it's him. You probably put Bowers in there already.
Yeah. Kelsey. I mean, if Kelsey's on his day, I mean, either hit that or
I think Kelsey's closer to like 10 now, honestly.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because he's just
not Kelsey. Sorry, I meant Kittle.
Kittle, yeah. Kittle's still good.
I
think Kelsey's still solid, but he's not elite.
My brain is clearly not working today, guys. So that's on me. Yeah, I mean, Brock Bowers, you could argue, is the best tight end in football. And that's
receiving tight end. I mean, he's definitely in the combo.
Yeah.
Not a great blocker, but you catch me 100 balls, you don't even have to block as far as I'm concerned.
No, agreed. Agreed.
Oh, man. All right. We're cracking jokes now.
Yeah.
We're cracking jokes.
All right.
We'll get to Andres in a second.
Yes, we will. Again, a lot of no's in the chat, but it's 53% say yes.
There's one scenario where I could see it happening, and I'll tell you guys about it when we get into it in our first segment. But even that scenario, I think, is extremely unlikely. Andres, I heard Harry is secretly a Packers fan. My respect for him has gone down immensely. Joking, of course. Appreciate you, Andres. FGB's in the chat. You guys know the drill. Also, hit that like button if you want us to get into the first segment here. We'll get the ball rolling. If you're a diehard Bears fan, go ahead and like the video. Help us in the algorithm.
Oh, hey, Lacora, you finally decided to show up.
There's Lacora. Looks like you're late today, Lacora. No, we were actually early. Lacora, next time we go live at 4:12 instead of 4, I want you to remember this. Yeah. We went live almost a full hour early today, Lacora. Yeah,
we were on it today.
We want to, you hold us accountable. We got to hold you accountable. It's a two-way street now.
He said, I said it. I'm tardy.
That's hand-up accountability, baby.
Up.
Hand-up accountability. That's what we like here.
Hey, if you don't have your notifications turned on, what are you doing?
JS83 would never. All right, here's what we got coming up on Bears Now Live, the latest news and rumors. We'll continue to take your questions, #Bears or Super Chat to get your questions on the show. I got a brand new Bears 7-round mock draft as we are getting closer and closer to draft week. I just got some static in my ear.
I literally just turned my mic down, sorry.
Is that coming through live stream? Do you guys hear static? Okay.
No.
I can deal with it. I just want to make sure. Oh, it just went away.
I heard the click.
What just happened?
I don't know.
Okay.
It sounded normal on live stream. I'm hearing
We good?
it. Yeah,
okay, they're saying we're good.
Yeah.
All right.
Lane, we'll get to your super chat after the segment.
Yeah, you'll be in our mailbag coming up. 7-round mock, like I mentioned. And then I got 10 pre-draft free agent targets the Bears could sign that would not impact the draft pick compensation formula. I'll explain how that works. So, busy show ahead. Let's get into it here on Chicago Bears Now. I'm Harrison Graham. Here's what we got coming up here on today's show. Ryan Poles joined Hoge Jahns and talked about the possibility of signing a veteran quarterback. Could that happen? Who are some names to keep an eye on? We will dive into that. Could Keenan Allen return to Chicago? He was seen partying it up with Caleb Williams at an event, and the Bears' offseason schedule has been released for the most part. We'll dive into that and kind of outline what the rest of the offseason looks like. So let's start with topic number one. Are the Bears going to add a veteran quarterback here? The GM did join Hoge Jahns for an interview down at the owners' meetings and said that he and Ben Johnson have talked about the idea of adding a veteran quarterback. Emphasized that it needs to be the right fit. It needs to be someone that'll fit in seamlessly in that room and in the locker room and kind of understand his role. And I kind of took that as not like a bridge guy, but a kind of a QB3. He spoke highly about Tyson Bagent. I think ideally they would bring in someone who's like a clear QB3, but has been in the league for a long time. And there's some guys that I think could fit that mold that we'll get into in a second. Here's the quote from Poles via Hoge Jahns. Go check out that interview if you guys haven't already. They did a great job. That's something Ben and I have discussed. We're still exploring. We're looking at some different options. We understand there's a unique wisdom that an experienced quarterback can bring to the table and help a young QB out. The most important piece is to make sure it's the right fit. The QB room is a very special room. The personalities and egos all have to work out. Otherwise, you could disrupt it significantly. We're being very particular, but that's something we could potentially address in the near future. Just the way he was talking about it and the fact that he said could address in the near future, I expect them to add somebody. Now, the question is, what caliber of player is that? Who is it? Is it a Brett Rippon type from last year that may not even make the 53? Or is it someone that they would like to have all year, whether it's on the active roster or the practice squad? Obviously, right now, the Bears have Caleb Williams, Tyson Bagent, and Austin Reed. But I think there's 5 guys that fit the mold that are not a threat to even start under any circumstances within the building or even among the fan base, even if Caleb were to struggle. And really, I think guys that really wouldn't even push to be QB2, to be honest. Joe Flacco, I think we saw last season Like that Cleveland Magic was kind of just that a couple of years ago. There's a reason over the last 7 years or so when he's actually had to play, other than that stretch with the Browns, he hasn't actually been that good, but he still has value. He's seen a lot. He's won a Super Bowl. He's played a lot, almost 2 decades in the league. If he was willing to be a QB3 type, I think that would be an excellent fit. Case Keenum, same deal. Clear QB3 type at this point. On the closer to 40 than 30, double-digit seasons in the NFL. Teddy Bridgewater, I've tried finding this. I don't know if he's going back to coach or not. Because remember last year, he coached his high school, led it to a state championship, and then signed with Detroit and Ben Johnson late in the year to be the backup. Would he be willing to sign up for a year in Chicago? I'm not sure. Josh Johnson has bounced all over the place, but he keeps getting jobs. So that tells me he's good in the room, so I think he could fit the bill. And then Ryan Tannehill, who didn't play last year, he was the guy we talked about last year as a potential veteran for Caleb. And with the year off, now maybe he'd fit that QB3 bill. He met with the Vikings recently, so maybe he's looking to get back into the league and in a situation where he wouldn't play. If he was willing to embrace that role, he could fit the bill as well. Again, that is the ideal scenario, right? Guys who have been in the league a long time, all 5 of those guys have spent over a decade in the NFL, but none of them I don't think are really threats to be QB2s. Maybe you could say Ryan Tannehill, but coming off a year where he didn't even play, 36 now, I don't even think that would be the case. They like Bajan as the backup. If you go listen to that interview, that's pretty clear. But I think they understand there's value in having that vet who's seen a lot, played for different teams, in different offenses, that they could offer a lot to the table. Now, some other free agent quarterbacks that are still out there, but I don't really think fit that bill. Carson Wentz obviously is a vet, but is he kind of the mentor type that's just going to take a huge back seat, especially to Tyson Bagent? I'm not convinced of that. Drew Lock is still fairly young. So is Desmond Ridder and Trey Lance. They also both just stink. C.J. Beathard, he could maybe fit that mold. He's been in the league 7-8 years. No threat to start. Same with Jeff Driscoll. They could be decent options. Mike White, I don't really think so. Tyler Huntley, still a youngish guy. I don't know if that's the guy that fits the vet bill either. At this point in time. So should the Bears, in your opinion, sign a veteran quarterback? And if so, who? Who do you want? Who would you like to add to this room? And I didn't list Aaron Rodgers because A, that would never happen, and B, that would be stupid. That makes no sense. So who would you like to see the Bears add, if anyone? And if you do want to see someone added, who would you like? I like the Flacco, Case Keenum, Josh Johnson type because they're no threat to start, probably not even be QB2, but they've been around for a very, very long time. Okay, Keenan Allen. Could he return to the Chicago Bears? He was at an event, Caleb Williams was, with Keenan Allen. I think a Monroe St. Brown event. They all know each other. That, of course, has sparked internet rumors. Maybe the Bears could re-sign him. He's still a free agent. We'll dive into that here in just a moment, but I do want to give some love to our sponsor, Prize Picks. Springtime is here. Baseball season is underway. And if you want to start setting daily fantasy lineups with Prize Picks for your favorite baseball players and teams, you should do so right now. You can set lineups of 2 or more players and pick more or less on the stat projections available. To qualify for a lineup, it has to be at least 2 players on 2 different teams for that to work. And if you hit, you win money. It's pretty simple how it works. The more players in your lineup, the more money you can win. And if you're a first-time customer, use our link to sign up, prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS to get a $50 bonus straight into your account once you play for just $5. You could just chase me here on a $5 lineup. Little basketball action. Cooper Flagg, less on his points. That Houston defense is stifling. Janai Broom, more on his rebounds. He has been a menace down low. 10 to win 30 here. I like the 2-player lineups. They're easier to hit. Obviously, lower bang for your buck, but I'm a big fan of that. But, if you want to take bigger opportunities, bigger swings, prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS to get that $50 bonus once you play for just $5. Pick more, pick less. Link is in the comments and in the description. It is Prize Picks. All right, this surfaced on Instagram stories last night. Keenan Allen and his wife were putting stuff on their IG stories. We saw this photo. Keenan looked like he was having a good time. in that other one. He also put this one with his wife, which kind of added clarity where they were. St. Brown Gala. I don't know what kind of event that is. Maybe it's something related to the St. Brown Brothers podcast, or maybe Amon-Ra has a foundation. I'm not sure. Keenan's obviously an LA guy. Caleb spends a lot of time out there in the offseason as well, since he played at USC. So they were at this event. I don't think it's anything more than that, to be honest. We know Caleb and Keenan get along. They spoke highly of each other throughout last season. They had a relationship before they were teammates as well, as they connected in LA when Caleb was playing college ball. I don't think there's anything to this other than they were both invited to this event and we're hanging out. Shocker, NFL guys hang out in the offseason. That's kind of what happens. A reunion would shock me, is basically where I'm getting at. There's a lot of buzz to the Chargers. Mike Williams put something on Instagram a couple weeks ago. He shared it on his story about reuniting with him back with the Chargers. And I think that could happen. And it wouldn't even shock me if that was in place. But the Chargers are waiting until after the draft to officially sign him, so they don't have to suffer in the comp pick formula game. Because if you don't know how it works, if you sign a guy that hasn't been cut by another team before the draft, it impacts the formula of potentially getting future compensatory draft picks. So that's why there's not a lot of action in April, because guys who are still available at this point, they kind of just agree to wait until May, June, whatever, to sign. Because after the draft, any players that sign, the formula is not impacted for the next offseason. I think there's one scenario where Keenan returns. If the draft comes and goes, and the Bears don't land a receiver in the draft, because I do think they'll add somebody, whether it's a guy who could start or be a depth piece, maybe there's a chance they reconnect, and if he's willing to sign for cheap, I think that's the only scenario, but I still think it's unlikely because, A, I think they'd be signing him with the understanding of he'd be taking a lesser role, which he could find a bigger role elsewhere, like the Chargers, to be honest. And B, like, it'd be one thing to take a discount with the Chargers, where he's been most of his career. I don't think he's taking a discount with the Bears. I think he's taking the most money available, or going back to LA where his family is. So I'd be shocked. I'll give it 3% chance. And while he's still out there, there's always a chance. But I think it's very, very unlikely. Do you want Keenan Allen back? Type Y for yes or type N for no. I'm not against it. I would rather go younger, get a speedster potentially in the draft, someone that could grow within this offense, and quite frankly, more importantly, let's make sure DJ and Rome are the focal points of the receiver room this year. Okay, before we wrap up this segment, some off-season dates announced. The NFL has released most off-season program dates for all 32 teams. Couple things yet to be announced, including rookie minicamp and training camp, partially because the teams determine when those are. Players can return next week for the Bears. New coaching staff, you can get back in the building sooner. You're not actually on the field doing like these mini camps, but there can be involvement, player-coach involvement. They can start doing classroom work, installing things, working out, doing those type of things. Obviously, you can work out before now, but not under any kind of like direction from the coaching staff, if that makes sense. First voluntary minicamp will be the 3 days leading up to the draft. OTAs, 3 sessions, May 20th through 22nd, 27th through 30th, and then June 9th through 11th. Before that third OTAs will actually be mandatory minicamp. Sometimes teams design it like this, and depending on where they are and their install and everything, sometimes they'll scrap the third OTAs. I hope the Bears don't do that, because new staff, new offense, new defense need to take advantage of those reps. Rookie minicamp to be determined. It'll either be the weekend after the draft, which will be the first weekend in May, or the following weekend. So early May, mid-May, somewhere in there. Training camp sometime in late July it'll start, and obviously run through August as well. I think it's huge to get back in the building next week. Let's get Caleb and Ben Johnson face-to-face. Let's hit the ground running, because it's going to take time to build this up, building the offense from scratch like Ben Johnson talked about in his introductory press conference. They're tearing it down to the studs and starting over. So these days matter. They really, really do. So I'm excited to see it get going, and obviously we'll continue to report on any news that comes out of that starting next week. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. Turn on those notifications, because we got you guys covered for all of it here on Chicago Bears Now. My name is Harrison Graham. Be sure to always bear down. Oh, baby. Here he is. We call him the man, the myth, the legend. It's Michael Horowitz. Boom! Boom! He says, keeping my expectations a lot more realistic this year. It's tough, Michael, isn't it? Because we all want to really believe. You don't want to scale yourself back, but this is probably the way to go from a anxiety standpoint as a fan. Like, if you don't have huge expectations, well, you're not going to get as stressed out. But I think the way we should approach it this year is to be cautiously optimistic, but let's not buy into if Nick Wright says they're going to the Super Bowl again. I like Nick Wright, but that was always a bit much.
A little bit.
It was always a bit much.
Some Bears news. Jake Curran signing with the Arizona Cardinals, 1-year deal. That happened about an hour ago.
Oh, so. I thought that happened before, honestly.
I don't know. I just around the NFL tweeted it out. Maybe
it just became official or something.
Maybe it did.
He was never coming back after that performance against his former team, Seattle. He had that hold when Caleb rolled left and threw that bullet to Odunze. Yeah. We'll see you, Jake. We'll see ya. All right. Shout out to Michael Horowitz. What a legend. Get the booms in the chat. Lane Tessman, I want another receiver similar to Brandon Marshall's size and talent. Well, you don't find 6'4", 225 elite speed that often.
No.
Can I present you Jaden Higgins? He's probably the closest to that. McMillan's pretty big. He's not as thick as B. Marsh, though. I don't know if you're finding that, Lane. Brandon Marshall's one of the better receivers of the last 20 years, to be honest. But I hear you. That'd be fun. Andres, assuming we trade up for Jeanty, snipe him ahead of the Raiders, I assume Raiders fans would just hate the Bears' guts for not only taking Ben Johnson, but also Jeanty would be really funny, though. Sure, but, I'm not trading up for Jeanty to stick it to the Raiders. Now, you might have to trade ahead of the Raiders if you have intel that you think they're going to draft him. But I don't think the Chicago Bears are operating to stick it to the Raiders. I don't think they care about the Raiders. So it would be funny because they have some weird fans. But, I hear you. It'd be one thing if it was like you're sniping the Packers. But that's a different story.
No, 100%. It would be funny just in office, potentially.
It would be. I could stick it to Mitch once again. Always the bridesmaid, not the bride. It happened with Ben Johnson. It happened with Stafford. Nice recovery with Pete. Nice recovery with Geno. A couple nice recoveries there. Maybe they'd recover with a Marion Hampton in the trifecta here. But could you imagine if the Bears traded up to 5, took Jeanty, and the Raiders took Hampton at 6? That'd be borderline psycho behavior.
And it would be so on brand.
It'd be hilarious.
It'd be on brand.
Hampton's good, but 6, that'd be something. All right, mailbag time. Continue to fire in the chat. Hashtag Bears or Super Chat. If you got any questions, go ahead and fire away as Cullen is ripping sneezes.
The cough, actually.
Oh, is that more of a cough?
That was.
It was like a cough sneeze.
Yeah, a little bit of just a yelp at that point. Get your hashtag Bears or Super Chat if you want to guarantee yourself on this mailbag.
Dude, I don't know what's going on with my headset, but
Is it popping still?
Dude, it's like...
Well, I heard it that time.
It's like the static is coming in and out.
I don't know.
I'm going to try the
old... Oh. Harry's off screen for a second, guys, so... Skeptor, that was Rashad Penny. Remember that very well.
Dude, I saw a take the other day that Jeanty is just going to be the next Rashad Penny.
That's just gross.
Well, it's also so you're predicting he's going to have 20 injuries?
Yeah.
That was...
Yeah, I think he just got injured again right now as we were talking.
Do y'all hear this static?
No, it's just you.
It's just me. Okay.
It's just you.
I'm going to try something here. This might
be right back, guys.
This might be a bad idea. Let's
Maybe.
see. I'm going to try Can you guys still hear me?
Yep.
Am I coming through?
You are coming through.
Okay. I'm going to have the part that I can hear in my ear just unplugged. You're right next to me anyway. I can hear you.
Yeah.
All right. I'm still coming through normal? Okay. All right. Yeah. We're going to do that because the static's driving me crazy. All right. Hashtag Bears or Super Chat. Bear down from H-Town.
Excuse me. Golly. Ooh, I like that camera. That could be a potential question.
All right. Fire away. We'll get to your questions here on Chicago Bears now. All right. Once Cullen's ready, we'll get this thing rolling and keep the show going here on Bears Now. I'm Harrison Graham. Welcome into Chicago Bears Now. It's time for another mailbag episode where we take your questions, hashtag Bears or Super Chat to get on the show. We want Jeanty is up first. He says, Vegas has the Bears win total at 8.5. Do you like more or less than that? Well, just to revisit the opponents this year, we don't have the week-by-week schedule yet, but the Bears' home games this year, obviously the 3 divisional opponents. You got the Cowboys and Giants at home. I do think you drew the 2 easier NFC East teams at home, so those make those games more winnable. Browns and Steelers, same in the AFC North. I think you got the easier ones at home, which is a give it a take because that means the road games could be tougher. You get the Saints at home as well. Road games, 3 divisional opponents. Philly, Washington, both tough. Baltimore, Cincy, both tough. 49ers, they're probably going to bounce back. The Raiders as well. 8 home games, 9 road games. On paper, this schedule feels pretty difficult, but last year, on paper, it was pretty easy, and by the end of the season, it ended up playing out that it was the second hardest schedule in the league. Now, some of that was the division was insanely good last year. I still think the division will be tough, but I don't think you're going to have 2 14-win teams and then an 11-win team. I could see like 12-5 winning the division this year, but yeah, I 8.5. I think that's fair. If you told me the Bears went 8-9 or 9-8, I could believe it. I could also believe 10-7. I think that's on the board. You're gonna have to win some more of these 50-50 games, which the Bears have found themselves on the wrong side of those pretty much throughout the entire Eberflus era. Now you got Ben Johnson, second quarterback going into year 2. If you tighten up some things, maybe those 50-50 games. You win more of those than you lose. What say you? O for over 8.5 wins or U for under 8.5 wins? All right, DC Viper says, if Ersery or Connerly are both on the board at 39, who are you taking to fill left tackle? I would go Connerly over Ersery. I think he's a little more polished. I think he's slightly more athletic. Ersery, you could argue, has a potential bigger ceiling. He's 6'6" versus Connerly, who's like 6'4.5". He's 330 and still pretty athletic, but his technique it still needs some work. I think Connerly, I'll put it this way. Connerly, if you had to play him week 1 this year, I'd feel more comfortable than Ersery week 1 this year. Stefan, and then we can hit a couple of these super chats as well. He says the Raiders GM's son said he's going to walk out of the house if they don't draft Ashton Jeanty. Yeah, that gave me Joe Shane and his son vibes from last year. For anyone who watched the Giants offseason Hard Knocks, there's a clip in there that said his son tells his dad, just go trade up for Jaden Daniels. Now, it's funny because Daniels ended up being awesome, and that would have been a great move for the Giants, but that also wasn't realistic. The Commanders it was pretty clear we're taking him at 2. I don't put a ton of stock into that. I do think the Raiders are very interested, and if the Bears don't get him at 10, that probably means the Raiders took him at 6. Subscribe to the channel. We got daily Bears content, the latest news, rumors, draft updates, free agency coverage, trade buzz, taking your questions, other segments, mock drafts. We do it all here on Chicago Bears Now. We're closing in on 120,000 subs. Got to get there before draft day. Let's make it happen. Bear down from H-Town. 3 more weeks until our newest fan gets here. Shout out to you, man. It's a special moment. You're 3 weeks away from newest Bears fan getting here. I'm just under 2 weeks away from a Bears fan turning 2 years old, my son. So born in the same month. So that's exciting. April's a good one. Adam Downing, how many big-time players can teams reasonably pay year to year? Well, it's a complicated question to answer because if you're the Eagles and you have an owner that's willing to spend more cash, you can give bigger signing bonuses up front, which means you can lower the cap hits, especially in the early years. So it really comes down to how much money is ownership willing to pay on an annual basis, because the cap and the cash are different things. The Bengals historically do not spend anywhere close to a team like the Eagles in year-to-year cash. Sure, the cap hits and the overall cap numbers are going to be in the same ballpark because you have to be within 10% of the salary cap floor, but teams don't operate the same. Like the Eagles, like Jeffrey Lurie is like, Howie, just call me when I need to write a check. Whereas the Bengals are like, we only have $130 million of cash flow we're willing to do this offseason. So it really just depends on how you structure the contracts. Do you want to add void years? Do you want to do the big signing bonuses? So, it's a complicated way of saying it really just depends on the team and the owner. All right, check out the Bears draft hats this year. They're pretty sweet. Chatsports.com/Bears draft hats is the link to go to click and shop today. That link is in the comments and description of this video. Go check it out right now. Chatsports.com/Bears draft hats. Link in the comments, link in the description of this video to get one today. Tons of different styles available. Go check them out. Our good friend Lacura. Yes, our good friend Lacura. I didn't even read that before I said that. That is hilarious. I would draft – Cullen is cracking up right now. I would draft Jaden Higgins if passing on Keenan, draft Jeanty at 10, and get that wide receiver depth maxed out. I took Jaden Higgins last week in our mock in the second round, which was received mostly negatively, but hey, it's all good. I like him a lot. 6'4", 215, runs well, good routes. I understand it'd be a bit of a luxury pick, but I think he's a fringe round one guy. So if you get him in the second round, I think that's pretty good value. Jeanty and Higgins with your first two picks, talk about adding juice to your offense. Dark Cobra, our good friend, Dark Cobra, who's your number one breakout player on the Bears? I hope it's Caleb Williams. Like, if he breaks out this year, this team's going to be in a good spot. So I hope it's him. Obviously, Rome Odunze is another guy I would mention. Tyreek is a guy I'm hoping for. Maybe bounce back's the better word for him. Those are a few off the top of my head. We'll probably do a breakout candidate segment at some point this offseason when things slow down. But, all eyes on Caleb Williams to break out in 2025. If you hate the Packers like I do, and most of you do as well, get the FGBs going in the chat. You know the motto, FGB. 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 All right, Rich Ewald, what running back would you take at 71, at 72? But I hear you, if we address other needs with the first three picks. I have to know who's available, but I would take Cam Scadaboo there. I think in the third round, he's worth it. Devin Neal is a guy I like at 72. Maybe RJ Harvey. He's got some juice as well. I think it's probably a tick early for Ollie Gordon, but him and Damian Martinez are guys in kind of that next tier I like. Taj Brooks is a sneaky guy I like. Maybe DJ Giddens, although I didn't love the vibe of him at the Big 12 Pro Day. Maybe he was just having an off day. I'm not sure. You're kind of getting into that next tier of back. You could still find starters there, but I do think there's a dip, assuming like Quinshad Judkins and obviously Caleb Johnson are gone. I guess if Travion Henderson fell to 72, I'd consider it, although I just don't think him and DeAndre Swift's skill sets mesh that well. Mike Nintendo Master, I've heard about players in the first. I thought we'd talk about some players who've taken round two at 39 or 41. I did a video about a month ago of round two draft targets, but I could probably run that back and kind of give an updated outlook in that range. I like a lot of like the defensive linemen there. Like there's edge rushers, there's defensive tackles, like the two Ohio State guys, Tui Moloau and Jack Sawyer. I think you could look at does a Derek Harmon fall into that range? Could you take Who am I missing at edge? Landon Jackson could be another player in that range as well. TJ Sanders. There's a lot of guys on the defensive line. Maybe some O-linemen there as well. Someone earlier mentioned Josh Connerly. Aireontae Ersery is a guy that could certainly fit that mold. Would Gray Zabel fall? I doubt it. I think he goes round 1. But there's a group of trenches players in that chunk that I like where I'd almost be kind of surprised if they keep those 2 picks if they didn't use one of them on an offensive or defensive line, of course, depending on what they do at 10. All right, appreciate all the questions, and if you didn't get yours answered or if you have more, you know where to find me, at HGramNFL, Twitter, Instagram. That is the handle. If you want to hit me up on social media, you can do so. Be sure to bear down, as always. All righty.
The core that did actually make me die laughing behind the camera.
The Bears just signed somebody.
Oh, they did?
Shaun Wade.
Shaun Wade.
That is wild. You want to do like a quick? We could throw it into news and rumors.
Yeah, let me. You want me just?
You could just get the Bears social.
Yep.
Just get that made real quick. Shaun Wade, 1-year contract. Who, if you remember, was a huge recruit for Ohio State, had a really good year, and then his last year there absolutely fell off a cliff. Like, he was a projected first-rounder at one point, and then he was so bad after that, he ended up falling to the 5th round. And last year he played in 14 games, 23 tackles, 1 pass breakup. Certainly looks like primarily on special teams for the Patriots a year ago. Not sure why he's labeled as a Charger here, unless they added him late in the season. Not really sure. That's on PFF. Yeah, I mean, I think this is just a depth. Like, this is probably a futures contract, I would assume. Vet minimum deal. So, Miles Boykin as well. Yeah. Here we go. Oh, did they tweet it out as well? All right. Well, 2 signings. God, I almost want to make that. Is that 2 video? Is that a separate video? Might be, honestly. All right, let's do this, Cullen. Let's just get those 2 made. We'll do a quick reaction here, but I think after live we can do like a quick, just like 8-minute VOD. All right, so Shaun Wade is on board. So is Miles Boykin, the wide receiver, who I really liked coming out. He hasn't done a ton in the NFL. As Tenley Park's own, by the way, Miles Boykin. Let me get this tweet out. My instant reaction is camp bodies compete for roster spot. Miles Boykin's been a little more productive than Shaun Wade in the NFL. He doesn't have any stats from last year, so I'm not sure if he had an injury, but his first 2 years, his first year he had 198 yards and 3 touchdowns. Second year, 266 and 4 touchdowns. So he had 7 touchdowns his first 2 years with the Ravens. Only played in 8 games in 2021, just 1 catch. 2022, 2 catches with the Steelers. 2023, 3 catches with the Steelers. And I'm not sure what he did last year. But here are the Bears' tweets as Cullen throws those on screen there. Again, I think these are camp bodies that, I'll say this about Boykin. I've mentioned the idea of getting a backup X receiver. He kind of fits that mold. He's 6'4", 220. He had a really good combine as well. Ran a 4.42, 43.5-inch vertical, 11.8 in the broad jump. So freaky athlete, but hasn't been able to put it all together. Again, Shaun Wade, big recruit in high school, was at one point viewed as a potential first-round pick. Had a poor final season at Ohio State, fell to the 5th round, has been mostly a special teamer. Boykin was a 3rd-round pick with the Ravens, played 3 years there, 2 years with the Steelers. Last year, he split time on the Giants and your Seattle Seahawks practice squad. I'm not sure you were even aware of that, but that is those are the two signings. We will dive a little deeper into those moves in a video that we'll put out after live, so subscribe and stay tuned for that. I just got to get a few thoughts and graphics together for that. But, yeah, Miles Boykin, Tinley Park, so you've got that local flair and connection as well. So
that's
interesting.
Very.
I mean, you have a 90-man roster in the offseason, so got to fill some spots. But
there they are again. Again, Tinley Park's own.
Don't really have any expectations for either, if I'm being honest. But, hey, I've always been intrigued by Boykin's athletic profile.
Yeah.
He was a RAS warrior.
I can believe that.
Let me see if I can find his RAS from back in the day.
Yeah.
It was not seeing it. Oh, here it is. 9.93.
Yeah.
Freaky athlete.
Really was.
Just under 6'4", 220, 4.42 in the 40. 43.5-inch vertical, which was 9.99. 11.8 in the broad, 9.99. Shuttle, 9.09. Really good athlete, but hasn't put it together.
Yeah.
Maybe Ben Johnson can get something out of him. Who knows?
Who knows?
All right.
So
there you go.
I'll say this. I think the Bears just cucked me a little bit.
Cullen's draft crush. Is there a little bit of
a little bit
profile overlap here? Pat Bryant, who Bears fans should know very well, out of the University of Illinois.
Well, yeah. I mean, I just was thinking day 3 X receiver, and you go and sign Miles Boykin. Now, look, Pat Bryant, I think, is a guy that he has a really interesting fit. He's measuring at the combine, I believe, at 6'2 and a quarter, 204 pounds. I think he plays heavier than that. Probably got down in weight to run his 40, which he ran at, give me 1 second, 4.6. So, yeah. So, I mean, he's not going to be the most explosive athlete, but he's really aggressive at the catch point. He's a really fluid route runner, and I think he is a true X receiver in the NFL. The thing that kind of sparked this conversation was Ben Johnson had the quote that we talked about where the slot receiver really tends to do well in his offense. I don't think he's going to be drafting a slot receiver. I think he's going to make that DJ Moore. So if you have DJ Moore kind of kicking into the slot, again, I know you signed Olamide Zaccheaus. You have other guys that can, play on the outside. But Pat Bryant, one thing that he was raved about him during his kind of year, this past year against Illinois, which you see his stats on screen, he is a very willing blocker in the run game. And he's not afraid to get his hands dirty.
That's important in this offense.
And as a day 3 guy, I think somebody who, again, he had 10 touchdown grabs this year, almost 1,000 yards. He just does the little things where it's going to be effective for him. And I think he's going to be able to stay on NFL rosters. Excuse me as I'm losing my voice here. Again, not the most athletically gifted guy, but a guy that if you want to just have for depth and just as an outside X receiver that's willing to get his hands dirty, I think Pat Bryant's somebody that I've seen people in the chat mention it, so shout out to the chat as well. I did a little more research on him. I think Pat Bryant could be somebody that the Bears draft on day 3 that, if he falls to him, say in the 5th round, 6th round, whatever it may be, he could be somebody that fights for a roster spot and could make a roster spot and could contribute this season. So
18 yards a catch last year, 10 touchdowns, very productive for a good Illinois team. I'm trying to pull up his combine profile real quick here.
Yeah, I mean, again, 6'2", as you see on screen, 204. He ran a 4.6 40 at a 1.56, 10-yard shuttle, vertical. He actually is a pretty decent jumper, 37.5-inch vert, 124 broad.
10.4 broad.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, I think he could fit the mold of, come in, be your backup X.
Yeah.
5th, 6th round, something like that. Local kids, so they've probably had a couple scouts see him play in person. He'll, I would assume, come on. Every team has, a local draft day visit where it doesn't count as one of your top 30s. I would imagine he's a part of that crew. So, yeah, I think that's an interesting guy. that on day 3, 5th, 6th, 7th round could bring him in. So John says I'd take Thornton in front of him. I mean, yeah, I would take the 6'5", 205 guy who runs a 4.3. I'd probably gamble on that over Pat Bryant. I also have no idea where Thornton's going to go. Like, is some team in the 3rd or 4th just going to like take a crazy swing and just hope it works? We'll see. Yeah. All right, Pat Bryant, Cullen's latest draft crush. Let's get into this next segment since we are going to have to film that news cut here in a little bit. But appreciate you guys rocking with us. 2 segments down, 2 to go. We got Mock Draft 12.0 coming up as we continue to just dive into these mocks with the NFL Draft right at 3 weeks away. Let's go. It's time for Bears Mock Draft 12.0 as we're 3 weeks away, less than 3 weeks away, depending on when you're watching this, from the 2025 NFL Draft. My name is Harrison Graham. Let's go ahead and dive right in. And you know what we haven't done? I don't know if in a single mock is trade up. I'm going to trade up with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Trading for the 5th pick. They get 10 and 41. And you would be doing this for one of 2 players, in my opinion. In this scenario, Mason Graham or Ashton Jeanty. And the reason you trade up to the 5th pick to get Ashton Jeanty is because the Raiders are sitting there lurking at 6, and there's a lot of buzz that they could take him. So, again, when we do these mocks, it's a combination of what I'd consider doing, but really it's what could I see the Bears potentially doing. And I do think this is a scenario that is at least potentially in play. And when you look at that draft order, the Raiders are the big bullet to dodge for Ashton Jeanty. Now, could some other team trade up to 7 or 8 and take him? Could the Saints take him at 9? Could New England take him at 4 if the Giants go Travis Hunter after Abdul Carter at 2 and the Patriots just say, screw it, we're going to give Drake May the best offensive weapon available. But Jeanty to Vegas at 6, it feels real. It feels like those rumors have a lot of legs to them. I don't think it's a lock. I don't think it's a done deal by any means. But if he gets drafted to Vegas on draft night, I don't think any of us should be shocked. I mean, I think that's a very realistic thing. Pete Carroll wants to run the football. They don't have a starting caliber running back. I think he makes a lot of sense for Vegas. So if the Bears love him a ton and want to get him and know that they are going to get him, then trading up might be the path to do it. I might be willing to do this. For Ashton Jeanty or Mason Graham, if it only costs you 1 of 39 or 41, I'm not trading a future 1 to do it. I'm not trading a day 2 pick or a 2nd round pick plus another pick to do it. But in some ways, it would kind of be the perfect symmetry ending to the Panthers trade. Like you use that 2nd round pick since you have an extra one from Carolina from the trade 2 years ago, and you secure what you hope and think is going to be a blue chip running back in Ashton Jeanty. All right, revisiting the trade here. Would you do this for Ashton Jeanty? Would you trade up for him to only give up one of your 2nd round picks? Obviously, in addition to number 10, type Y for yes, you would, or type N for no, you would not. Here's what Bears fans think on this one. If I'm going to trade up, I would like to trade down from the other 2nd round pick that I still have. So I'm going to do that here. Chargers come calling. They get 39. I get 55. And 86, so I pick up an additional 3rd round pick. So in essence, instead of having 2 2nd round picks, I still get 2 3rd round picks when it's all said and done. So I still have 4 picks in the top 86 instead of 4 in the top 72. So when you put it in that kind of realm, it's easier of a pill to swallow, even though obviously you had to give up a top 41 pick to pull that off. At least you get an additional top 90 pick back. Okay, Aireontae Ersery, who we've taken a lot in the 2nd round, but I even love it more if it's more like in the 50s here. I don't think he's a developmental tackle, but he needs more developing, if that makes sense. Like, he's not like some day 3. Like, he's not Karan Amagaji. Like, he's a 3-year starting left tackle in the Big Ten. So, clearly he's a fairly high-level player in a major conference, but I do think there's some technique work needed. You'd love it if his foot speed was a tick better, but he tested out athletically much better than I thought, so that was promising. Like I said, he's been a 3-year starter at left tackle for a program that historically has pumped out pretty good offensive line. So I like that. I think, if you listen to Ryan Poles this week with Hoge Jahns and just with the media in general, they clearly like Braxton Jones, but Ben Johnson himself said he will likely be limited coming back into training camp. Ryan Poles is still high on Kram Amagaji, but acknowledged, that's a work in progress. They still, if the right situation is available, would like to add competition to that left tackle position. That's a word that's been used a lot. I think this is kind of the perfect example of that. Because if you're taking Will Campbell at 10, sure, maybe it's competition, but if you're taking a guy at 10, especially to be a left tackle, whether it's week 1 this year or later in the season or at least by next year, that's your starter. If not, that's a problem. You should not take a guy at 10 that does not become at least a starter by year 2. Aireontae Ersery is a guy, hey, come and compete. If you earn the job, sweet. If you're a high-level swing tackle that becomes a starter down the road, that's fine as well. So I think middle, late second round, you get a left tackle here with some traits. I think that's, then you got 3 guys in that room, make the best man win. Okay, round 3, pick 72. This is becoming one of my guys, if you will. And I might just do a video. Shout out to Marshall Green, our Giants host. He put out a my guys in this draft. I think he looked at 4 or 5 players. CJ West might become one of those for me. He's just fun, man. And he's just, you like the story. He's a local kid as well from the Chicago area. Under-recruited, goes to Kent State for 4 years. 5th-year COVID senior, goes to Indiana, is a big part of that defense and team that obviously made it to the college football playoff. Graded out well per PFF. Despite being probably more of a one-tech in the NFL, pass rush win rate of over 10%. So I think he gives you a little wiggle as a one-tech and as a pass rusher. He's excellent against the run, and we'll get to a stat here in a moment that really outlines that. The testing impressed me. I did not think he would be this much in the green. The only red is the height, and I actually think that's an advantage in this case because he uses kind of that bowling ball lower to the ground center of gravity to his advantage to create leverage. It's very similar to Andrew Billings. He reminds me a lot of Andrew Billings, but I think you might get a little more wiggle out of this guy in terms of being able to penetrate more as a pass rusher. But I think Billings would be a great guy for him to learn under for a year. And then remember, Billings is a free agent next year, so if they need to let him walk or whatever the case may be, then he could take over with a larger role next season. But I think he could be in a rotation right now as a run stopper, as a rookie. I think the 3rd round is the sweet spot for him. He's not traitsy enough to be a first-round pick or probably even a second-round pick, but I think the 3rd round, he brings a lot to the table. And this is one of those wow stats, right? Brett Coleman put this out. He does great work as well. He said, here's a fun CJ West stat for you. Indiana's average depth on tackle against A-gap runs, that's right up the middle, was just 2.11 yards. So what he means there is on a handoff or a QB run, they're tackling people on average through the A-gap 2.1 yards downfield. That's pretty good, right? You're stuffing the run. Next closest team, 2.75. That's more than a half yard further to the offensive side of the line of scrimmage or to the where they snap the ball. That's pretty significant when you're talking about the average over the season. Indiana only faced 85 such runs because teams clearly figured out you can't run up the middle, which was 104th in the country, so teams just didn't do it against them. But that's still effective, right? It forces teams to do other things. And on 104 or on 85 of those, 29 tackles for loss or no gains. 4th most, despite facing it only 104th most times. CJ West. He's basically saying CJ West forced teams to attack elsewhere. When you have a guy that forces your opponent to do other things, that's a game changer. Now, is he going to do that consistently in the NFL? Who knows, right? Especially as a rookie. But that guy can play, and he could play in a rotation right away. That's a crazy stat. Especially for an Indiana team who, let's face it, that was an offensive-centric team this year if you watch them. He was their best defensive player. So I thought that was a really cool stat, really cool story, being under-recruited, like I mentioned, just grinding his way up. I would love it for him to get drafted by the Bears in the 3rd round. All right, more picks to come, but we got to tell you about our sponsor first. That is Prize Picks, daily fantasy made easy at prizepicks.com. baseball.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS. Spring is here, which means baseball has entered the chat. If you want to use baseball players in your daily fantasy lineups, you can do that. You can have an all baseball lineup, or you can have a baseball player in your lineup along with the basketball player, along with the hockey player. That's the beauty of Prize Picks. You can cross over sports with your lineups. 2 or more players on 2 or more different teams, regardless of sport, qualifies for a lineup, and then you just pick more or less on the stat projections, available points, rebounds, assists, home runs, hits, strikeouts, all kinds of stats depending on the sport's fantasy score as well. Head over to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS to get started today. Got a little season-long football action available for you guys as well. Caleb Williams, more on the passing yards. That's less than what he threw last year in a bad offense. So I love the more on that play. And then James Cook, I like him to reach 1,000 or more rushing yards. $10 to win 30 on this one. That's what I fired off. But, if you want to do bigger money, if you want to do bigger lineups to win up to 1,000 times your money back on a certain lineup, that's available as well. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS if you're a first-time customer to get $50 for free when you sign up to play for just $5. Check it out. All right, here's a different pick because I try to have new guys enter these mocks. I don't want to pick the same players every time. Savion Williams, a player I'm very familiar with, went to my alma mater, TCU, 5-year player. Wide receiver, but really just an athlete. Played some running back this year. That second yards is supposed to be rush yards, by the way. Our fault on that. But caught 60 passes for 611, 51 carries for 322 rushing yards, so 6 yards per carry. They kind of created a wildcat package for him. And as a TCU fan, I watch every snap of every season. It saved their season. I'm not joking. They were 2-2 or 3-3 when they introduced this, and they finished 9-4 because it just opened up a whole new element of their offense because he's such a physically imposing player, and their normal running backs just weren't getting the job done. The O-line wasn't a great run blocking unit, and he was able to just find lanes and break tackles and just create explosives. And, he's an intriguing player because my just quick breakdown, massive frame, right? 6'4", 225. As a receiver, elite contested catch guy. You could throw jump balls to him in the red zone on the outside, but he's not that great of a route runner. Like, if some team drafts him and it's just like, hey, come be our number 2 receiver and just run the full route tree, like, it's just not going to work. Like, that's a bad plan. But if you have a vision for him and use his versatility, put him in the slot some as a big slot, put him on the outside, throw screens to him, get him in space, throw jump balls to him, have a wildcat package for him, hand the ball off to him every well, put him as your kick returner. I think he could be a really good kick returner in the NFL as well. I do think the comp, which you see a lot, of Cordero Patterson is a good one. I think he may have a little more juice, and I do think his receiver skills are a little better than Cordero's were. Like, he was kind of viewed as a bust early in his career, then he found value when he moved more to running back. I think he can give you more as a receiver than Cordero did. He's a very unique player. Again, if you're just drafting him to just be a willy-nilly wide receiver, it's probably not going to work out that well. But if you get him with the creative offensive coach, Ben Johnson, that can work. Like, I think like a Sean Payton would love this guy. A Kyle Shanahan would be like, this could be our next Debo type, something like that. So, if you pick up an extra third-round pick, I think this is probably the range. Somewhere between 60 and 100, I think, is probably where Savion will and should go. He's a fun player who, you can manufacture 6 to 8 touches for him a game, and he could give you some explosives if you use him properly. Okay, subscribe to the channel. We'll continue to pump out the latest Bears news, rumors, mock drafts leading up to the draft, draft buzz, trade rumors, everything else surrounding this football team. Share that link below with a friend. It's youtube.com/BearsNow. All right, we'll go rapid fire on these day 3 picks. Kobe King. I'm trying to just mention a different linebacker each mock. Maybe they take one on day 2, but they got to get somebody into that room with Jack Sanborn out of the picture. King has an interesting profile. He can cover a little bit. Had some injuries in college, so we'll see kind of where he goes. Clay Webb's an interesting guy. I actually think he'll probably go earlier than this. Played at Jacksonville State, but pretty athletic guard. Some think he could play some center as well. So if you want like a developmental, athletic, interior offensive lineman. I think he could be a guy you take late on day 3 to push for a roster spot because you still need depth on your offensive line. And Malachi Moore, not a great athlete, but played a lot of ball at Bama. Good production there as well. Obviously, last year didn't play under Nick Saban, but he's had some Nick Saban coaching, which I value a great deal. So you get a guy like that late on day 3, add a safety to your room, certainly not a bad thing. All right, so just to rehash the picks, obviously the day 1, day 2, you trade up for Ashton Jeanty, get him at 5. Trade one of your second-round picks to do it, but then you trade back from your other second-round pick, get Aireontae Ersery at 55 overall, C.J. West at 72, starting to fall in love with this kid. Savion Williams at 86. I think with Ben Johnson, it could work, could be fun. And then your day 3 picks we just talked about, Kobe King, the linebacker out of Penn State in round 5, and then your 2 7th-rounders, Jacksonville State offensive lineman Clay Webb and Bama safety Malachi Moore. Grade this mock draft, A, B, C, D, or F. How are we feeling about this one? Drop a letter grade down in the comment section below. Every time we drop a mock draft, that means we're that much closer to the real shebang. I can't wait for it to be here. Be sure to subscribe, turn on those noties, and don't miss any of the content and updates that are going to continue to drop onto your feed and YouTube algorithm as we get closer and closer to the draft. And, of course, join us for draft night. Going to be a blast. All right. Bears posted what on IG? Probably the signings. So my guy Patrick Seatman, who you guys know, Vikings fan, but grew up in the Chicago area and is a diehard Bulls fan. He does our Bulls content. He just texted me. He said Miles Boykin dunked on him in high school.
No way.
So you got that. You got that connection. That's kind of funny. Yeah, so if you're just joining us, let's revisit the news here, Cullen. We're going to do a longer video after we sign off on live. I just don't have time to – it's hard to get some graphics ready on the fly, and I want to get some more thoughts together. But when we probably an hour after we went live, the Bears announced 2 signings. Miles Boykin, Tinley Park's own, signed a 1-year contract to join the Bears. Athletic freak. His first 2 years, he had some production with Baltimore. Since then, has not done much. So we'll see if he can do something here under Ben Johnson. Shaun Wade, who was a huge recruit, projected at a first-round pick at one point, fell off a cliff his final year at Ohio State, ended up being a 5th-round pick, has bounced around a little bit, mostly a special teamer. I don't really have a ton of, or really, I don't have any expectation for either of these guys. I'm more intrigued by Boykin, just because, A, you have an offensive head coach, and he does have such a big-time athletic profile that, you know, I'm eager to see him compete. But 2 guys who, at one point or another, were viewed in high regard, joined the Bears, and obviously have a 90-man roster in the offseason, so Bears have plenty of room to kind of to fill out the roster. So Shaun Wade, Miles Boykin, welcome to Chicago. We'll dive into these signings a little bit more coming up after our live show. We got one more segment we want to get to, and then we'll sign off, do that show, publish that video for you guys. All right, let's get to our final segment as we are going to get into some free agents the Bears could sign. I almost forgot what we were going to talk about there. A little flustered by these signings, but we'll do that, and then we will sign off, so bear down. Let's get into some special Bears free agent targets here on today's show. My name is Harrison Graham. Welcome into Chicago Bears Now. And the reason I'm labeling them special is because these 10 players are guys the Bears could sign before the draft without impacting the draft pick or compensation pick formula. And what I mean by that is every team always plays this game of they would like to get future comp picks for next year's draft based on outgoing free agents and incoming free agents. And right now, the Bears are in the green where they would at least get 1 pick next year, I believe, either a 6th or 7th round pick. So not crazy significant, but anytime you can get an extra pick, you would certainly like to do that. But these 10 players don't impact that. Now, a couple of notes to know when it comes to the comp pick formula. Once the draft ends, the formula's dead. You can sign anyone after the draft. It's not going to impact the comp pick formula next year. That's why a lot of guys especially kind of like tier 2, tier 3 vets, Keenan Allen, will just wait until after the draft and sign with the team. A lot of these guys end up having kind of verbal agreements, and they just wait till after the draft. But if you don't want to wait till after the draft, guys who were cut by other teams, they don't factor into the formula. A Bears example for this year is Grady Jarrett. He got cut by the Falcons. The Bears signed him. Zero impact on the comp pick formula. You look at what Minnesota did with Javon Hargrave and Jonathan Allen. Both guys were cut. That makes them more attractive for teams in a lot of reasons because they don't go against the comp pick formula. So these 10 players are guys that don't factor in to the formula. So if the Bears wanted to add some depth before the draft, they could do so with these 10 players. Okay, we'll reveal these two at once here. Za'Darius Smith, the edge who played last season with the Browns and Detroit, was cut by Detroit this offseason. Von Miller, who's been with the Bills the last 3 years, got cut by Buffalo as well. I obviously still would like to add a pass rusher. The Bears could certainly look in the draft and likely will as well. But if they want to get a jump on that, these two guys would not impact the formula like I mentioned. Both guys had pretty decent productive years last year. Za'Darius Smith played more games, played more snaps. I think he's a guy who can handle a larger role at this point because he's still relatively young. Von Miller's 36 now. But in limited snaps and game action, Miller still racked up 6 sacks there. His PFF grade was excellent. So I think like as a role time player, if you're keeping his legs fresh, he can still give you some juice as a rotation rusher, whereas Smith can probably give you more snaps if you need him to do that. Less injuries in recent years as well. I do think adding an edge and potentially 2, maybe a vet like this plus a draft pick, is going to make sense. 1, because Adangbo is going to give you some snaps in the interior. And if he does, who's your like next edge you're turning to? Is Austin Booker ready for that? I think there's hope there, but I don't think you want to just blindly be like, yeah, Booker, be our like 2B edge rusher for when Adangbo kicks inside. I think you'd rather hedge your bet a little bit there, and a vet like this could certainly help you do that. Both Smith and Miller, I think, can give you quality production coming off the edge. Obviously, price tag, all that's going to come into play, but you're typically not banking the bank for any player at this point in free agency. So keep an eye on these two guys. Smith has never played with the Bears, but he's played with all other 3 NFC North teams. And then Von Miller, there's a connection to Dennis Allen. He was the DC in Denver when the Broncos drafted him. Pick an edge rusher. Who would you rather have? Type ZES for Za'Darius Smith, VM for Von Miller. A couple of veterans who have been doing this for quite a while. Okay, Tyler Lockett, a player I don't really expect the Bears to sign, if I'm being honest, but cut by Seattle, so he checks that box of not impacting the comp pick formula. You've seen the production start to dip. He's not at the peak of his powers, but I still think he can be a solid wide receiver 3 in this league. You know, if you told me he gave you exactly what he gave the Seahawks last year, I mean, that would be pretty solid production, around 50 catches, 600 yards, maybe he gives you a couple more than 2 touchdowns. Has always been pretty sure-handed. Obviously, the Bears have Olamide Zaccheaus. Pretty decent chance they'll draft somebody as well. They added Miles Boykin also to give you kind of a big-body receiver option. We'll see if he factors in this year at all. Lockett, he's kind of purely a slot at this point, so if you wanted to bring in a pure slot guy, you could do that. Unclear what Ben Johnson's plan is with the slot wide receiver position. Is it going to be by committee? Does DJ Moore take on that role? Does Rome Odunze give you some snaps there? Is Zaccheaus the primary slot? Could it be a draft pick? So Lockett certainly has the tools to be that guy. I expect him to go elsewhere, though. Maybe Vegas with Pete Carroll and the boys. All right, a couple of safeties that were cut. Marcus Williams with Baltimore, Rayshon Jenkins in Seattle. 2 guys who have played a lot of ball and have played well in this league, but not so much as of late. But you still need to add a safety, whether it's in the draft, whether it's in free agency with a veteran. We've beat this into a dead horse a little bit, right? Kevin Byard, final year of his deal. Jaquan Brisker, also final year of his deal, but more importantly, the concussion history. Jenkins and Williams are both over the hill, but they could provide depth. They know what they're doing. Marcus Williams played under Dennis Allen for a few years in New Orleans, so there wouldn't be any learning curve for him in terms of a scheme fit. So I'd probably lean in that direction if you were to add these two guys, but two players who were cut loose that are still looking for new jobs. All right, subscribe to the channel if the Bears sign somebody, whether it's before free agency, after. We're going to make a video. We're going to talk about it, just like with Miles Boykin and Shaun Wade. So be sure to subscribe and turn on those notifications here on Chicago Bears Now. All right, 5 down, 5 to go. Jawan Bentley, we did a video on him recently. If you want deeper in-depth conversation on him, go check that out. I think he could be a pretty intriguing guy because before this past year, he was, multi-time team captain. He's won a Super Bowl. He's been a primary starter for New England. But coming off a torn pec, may not have a ton of options to be like a clear-cut starter. Maybe it's kind of just right place, right time for the Bears where they can get an experienced guy who's a starting caliber player to be more of a part-time starter. Come in, be our linebacker 3, replace Jack Sanborn, be a solid run stopper, give you a little bit in coverage. Maybe he gets a few more percentage points of snaps than Sanborn got under Dennis Allen. Maybe they rotate a little bit more. I think he's only 28, 29, so he's still relatively young. And he comes from a team that at one point was winning a lot while he was there. So pretty intrigued by that as well. Okay, C.J. Mosley. I don't really think he would come here, to be honest, because he's still playing at a pretty high level. It was kind of a surprise cut by the Jets, to be honest. I know it was mostly a money deal, but C.J. Mosley would probably look at this thing and be like, I'm better than T.J. Edwards. I'm better than Tremaine Edmonds. Whether that's true or not, that's up for debate, but I think he can find a home where he's a primary starter. Now, if the Bears just want to create competition and, put Edmonds and Edwards on notice a little bit like, hey, we're going to bring in a dude that's played at a high level for a long time. You 3 guys compete. 2 of y'all are going to be our primary stars. New DC, anything could happen, but you're also going to have to pay a guy like this a little bit more. You're going to have to sell him on having to compete. Like, is he signing up for that? I don't really know. But he was cut by the Jets and, again, fits that mold of not impacting the comp pick formula. Okay, draft hats are available. We're just a few weeks away from the NFL draft, so if you want to get one ordered and get it in time for draft weekend, you know where to go. chatsports.com/Bears draft hats. That link is available for you guys in the comments and description of this video. It's chatsports.com/Bears draft hats. Click and shop today and get yourself a Bears draft hat. Okay, Shaq Mason, who at one point was a pretty good guard in this league, and he's kind of slowly just declined as a player, but he's still only 31 and has still graded out relatively well per PFF. I would put him in that, like, serviceable starter category, kind of like Matt Pryor, right? Like, if you need him to start for a chunk, you can do that. You probably don't want him as your season-long starter. Unlike Pryor, he's not going to give you tackle flexibility. He's strictly a guard. But I still do ask the question, who is your top interior, who's your swing guard? Is that Ryan Bates? If he's healthy, I'm fine with that, but he was not healthy last year. Concussion problems, arthritic shoulder. Shaq Mason's played a lot of ball for a long time. At one point, I don't want to say he was elite, but he was very good. If he can't find a starting job, you can do a lot better or worse than Shaq Mason as your top backup interior guy. And Jonah Jackson's been nicked up a little bit in the last couple of years as well. He would bring a lot of experience. If a guy went down for a month and you needed him to play, you'd at least feel okay about that. Which, again, I'd feel okay with Ryan Bates, but he was pretty much hurt all last year, so I'm still not sure where he stands with the Bears. But I think Shaq Mason would be an intriguing guy. Now, I'm assuming he's holding out for a starting job, which the Bears could not offer. So it's unlikely, but if he was willing to be a backup, I certainly wouldn't be against it. George Fant, another guy who started a lot as a tackle, more so as a right tackle, but has played some left in his career. Veteran swing tackle type of guy that you could bring in. Certainly not at the peak of his powers either. But even though it doesn't impact the comp pick formula, this probably would be a post-draft guy to look into. Like, if you don't find that left tackle competition in the draft, maybe you circle back to a guy like George Fant to potentially at least bring into the room. Even if you don't view him as the likely starter, he at least elevates the floor of that tackle position, so he could be someone to look into. Then how about our old friend, DeMarcus Walker, who was kind of a surprise cut at the time, still available, still out there. They saved, I think, about $5.5 million by cutting him. What if they bring him back for the vet minimum? What if he doesn't have great options? What if he's like, screw it, I'll come back for cheap and I don't have to move and all that stuff? It certainly seemed like a signal of a maybe not a great scheme fit, which is why they would have cut him. But I still like the player. I don't think he's great, but he's versatile. He can play some edge. He can play some defensive tackle. I thought last year he was actually better than he was the year before, so I was a little surprised at the time. Not shocked because new coaching staff comes in, they view guys schematically and all that stuff. But I mean, if you told me he came back for $2 million, I mean, I'd be fine with that. I think he'd be in your rotation right now. I mean, we've talked about it. You need defensive tackle help, you need edge help, and DeMarcus Walker bringing him back wouldn't impact the formula. So hey, if he wants to and the Bears want him back, I wouldn't be against it. Name a free agent the Bears should sign. Is it someone who you could mention someone who would impact the formula, or just say, hey, bring back Keenan Allen after the draft. Whoever it is, throw his name down in the comment section below. My name is Harrison Graham. We will continue to pump out content because that is what we do here on this show. 2+ videos per day, 2 live shows per week. We'll be live for the entire draft, all 7 rounds. So don't forget to subscribe. Alrighty. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. One more time, if you missed it, and we're about to do a full segment on this off of live and publish it, so stay tuned for that. The Bears have signed 2 players. Miles Boykin, 1-year deal, athletic freak, coming out of Notre Dame a few years back. Has not really panned out in the NFL as a 3rd-round pick, but first couple years fairly productive, so I'm intrigued to see what he can do in the offseason. Sean Wade, the corner, DB, some versatility there, can play on special teams. At one point was viewed as a 1st-round pick, had a really bad year at Ohio State, so ended up going in the 5th round of that next draft. But again, at one point was viewed as a high-level talent. When you bring in guys like this, you're not really expecting much. You're kind of saying, hey, come be quality camp bodies. If you surprise us and make the team, great. That's cool. If not, maybe they're practice squad candidates. We'll have to wait and see. We'll expand on those thoughts in a video coming up here in just a few moments. But for now, we're signing off. Bear down.